I think we'd all agree in order to motivate an individual customer stakeholder to mobilize or to take action on our behalf, or at least on behalf of a course of action that leads to our particular solution among his or her colleagues across a large scale complex buying group, it stands to reason that we're going to need to make not just a rational connection to that individual stakeholder, but also an emotional connection as well. If not an emotional connection to us, at least an emotional connection to the solution or to that course of action. And in order to make it an emotional connection to a stakeholder, as critical as it may be, it can be kind of hard, can't it? Because it means we have to understand what is their emotional state right now that we're attaching to, that we're connecting to, either in order to change that emotion or to reinforce that particular emotion. And I think we'd all agree that sort of the heart and soul of this story then is the story or the idea of empathy. In order to connect to the emotional state of a customer stakeholder, we have to sort of understand their emotional state as it currently stands. Now, how do you do that? Now, I think, if you've sold for a long, long time, particularly in the same industry vertical, the same sort of set of stakeholders, this comes kind of naturally because you've been down this road a number of times. But what if you're new to selling? Or what if you're new to selling this particular solution or to this particular individual or to this particular industry vertical? All of those things can potentially change that emotional sort of universe then which you have to connect. So one of the things I've found is in order to make that emotional connection, we have to first figure out where they stand right now. And to do that, you think, well, how am I supposed to get in their head and understand their sort of emotional state right now? The simple answer is to ask them. I mean, to run right at it. It's like everything else in life when you think about it. How am I supposed to do that? Just run right at it. So, what I have developed over the years is something I've ultimately given a name to. I call it hypothesis led empathy. It is a way to be empathetic by testing different emotions and figuring out which ones resonate. So, ultimately, if you want to be empathetic, if you want to display or connect on an emotional level, you have to kind of know what you're connecting to. So, what I'll do oftentimes is I think about a whole series of conversations and a series of maybe deals that I'm doing or conversations that I'm having. I'll ask across a number of different stakeholders and across a number of different companies. First thing I'll do is I'll ask a representative stakeholder simply, how that feels. And I'll lead, however, not which is like, tell me, how does that feel? Right. Which is a little open ended. I'll lead with a hypothesis. And it's very practical. It probably sounds something like this. I imagine that's kind of scary, isn't it? And if you, or I got to imagine that's really frustrating. It's like, wow, you must be super excited. All of those would be essentially hypotheses of a particular emotional state. Now, what I'm trying to do here is not necessarily to get it right. What I'm trying to do is elicit a response, either confirmation or correction. So, actually, no, this isn't very exciting at all. Or actually, boy, tell me about it. I am so frustrated. It's like you have no idea how scared I really am, or whatever it might be, because then you can take that a little piece of evidence and the next conversation with someone in a similar situation, you say, I've heard this can be kind of scary. Is that how you're feeling too? So I take that hypothesis and I take it out. And so I've gotten one confirmation, and I do this with two or three people as I evolve that emotional state. So for customer stakeholders in similar situations, I've talked to a lot of customer stakeholders, and everyone I've talked to says this is really scary. Is that kind of where you are too? Because I imagine this is pretty tough. Or, it's funny. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and they were super excited about this. Are you excited too? Because I'd imagine I'd be a little scared, right? And you can put different emotions on the table and essentially test them as you go. And what'll happen is over time that um, you will converge around one particular set of emotions that are most common, whether they're negative or positive, to the point where you can get to the point where you can say, it's really scary, isn't it? Or, yeah, I know, isn't that exciting? And you can throw out these emotional states and make that emotional connection because you've tested them and you've got confirmation from enough people for you to, with confidence, put an emotion out on the table and have your customer say, "Oh yeah, absolutely," or "Wow." And now you've created that connection, not just at the rational level, you've connected the emotional level because your customer's saying, "Wow, he gets me or she gets me because that's exactly how I'm feeling," and you know that that's how they're feeling because you just tested it with 10 other people just like them, or at least similar to them. And every once in a while you'll get it wrong, and that's okay too, because that's what humanity is this richness, this tapestry of emotions where we don't always get it right. But I think if you posit it with humility and you posit it with curiosity and a genuine interest, not just this isn't a rote exercise that you go through. You generally want to know how they're feeling about it because it's interesting. It's the richness of humanity. Like, wow, something I find scary, someone else finds exciting, and vice versa. And that's when you really, I think, become really a world class human led seller, is tapping into this emotional, making that emotional connection, but an emotional connection out of curiosity and out of testing that idea with others so that you can connect that back to this person as well.